Hey family, it's Tasha MAMABEAR prepping. You already know what time it is, baby. Get your drink, pull up. It's Friday. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about a subject that actually I've talked about before, but a lot of people just don't seem to. It gets views and it gets a lot of people saying thank you for the information, but I think that it's important to talk about this stuff again and just refresh, right? We have a lot of new preppers and I want to make sure that everybody's getting the information. And of course, as always, this is a premiere, so hopefully you're chiming in the chat room as well right now. And then of course, make sure that you leave your comments afterwards so that everybody that is watching this on the replay gets to see the dialogue and gets to see your guys' thoughts and concerns on the topic. So I want to talk about, preparing for a situation where you have to leave your home. Now, I understand, because if you've watched me for any amount of time, you understand that most scenarios have me and my family staying here. I mean, almost 99% we're staying here. I always say, even if the house burns down from marauders, we're going to stick it out, stay and rebuild, stay here, because we have so much stuff here. We have so much here that even if the house burned down, there's stuff in the detached garage, there's stuff hidden, there's stuff everywhere on this property. And so it still makes sense that we have supplies, we have stuff that would help us survive here, okay? And so I think that is what is important. And it becomes your natural grit, your resolve, your survival, right? Your level of that and what you can endure, right? But there's absolutely scenarios that have you evacuating. If I happen to live, down south in Hurricane Alley, or not Tornado Alley, Hurricane Central, whatever it's called. And I lived on the coastline down there for example, and we were told, hey, you need to leave. This is going to be bad. Well, with me living through Hurricane Katrina and not even getting the brunt of it, I would tell you that I would be leaving. Me and my family would have a plan. We'd have places we were going, and we would evacuate. There's just times where it makes sense. Now, 99%, it makes sense also to stay home because that is where your supplies are at, right? Obviously, if you get hit by a tornado, you make it through that, you're in the shelter, you come out and your house is leveled. Again, it depends, because you have to have somewhere to live, stay, whatever. It depends, the damage. It is still, even if you are of the belief like me and my family, that it would take a lot for you guys to leave, it is still highly beneficial that you have a solid execution plan for evacuating your family and leaving. Because what you don't want to do is you get into that situation where 100%, oh, we're leaving. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. We're leaving, and you haven't planned for it. You haven't packed any bags. Maybe you have some old bug out bags, but do those bags actually have what you need, right? I'm sure it has some stuff, but an evacuation bag to me is completely different than a bug out bag, right? Bug out bag to me is like, we're leaving the home forever, right? We're migrating across states on our feet, right? To migrate somewhere because we're never coming back to this house. That's what a bug out bag is for me, right? And that's why it's hard for me to even wrap my head around a bug out bag. Now, an evacuation bag is different. That has your everyday stuff in it. It has everyday couple change of clothes, has some shoes, has a little bit of water, has a little bit of food, right? But there's two things that I think are the most important thing with an evac bag, because an evacuation bag is you just simply saying, we're leaving the house because something is happening. But the idea is that you're coming back home after a certain amount of time, right? This isn't a forever we're leaving bag. This is just to kind of help you have a change of clothes, have some fresh socks and underwear. So wherever you get to where you're going, hotel, wherever, family, whatever, you have something to change into, right? You're not having to go to Walmart to buy, some clothes or some underwear and stuff, right? You've got that stuff. But there's two things that I think are extremely, extremely important that you really have to think through when you're thinking about your evacuation bag. And that is, one is your identifications, right? Your most important documents, like your birth certificate, your social security card, those documents, your any kind of IDs, any kind of, your extra credit cards, if you don't keep them kind of in your everyday wallet, passports, that type of stuff, right? And then 2, you're monetizing your money, your cash money, credit cards. And so when people ask me about this subject, it becomes well, in your family, how do you keep your identifications? Where do you keep your birth certificates, your social securities, those extra credit cards? Like, where do you keep all that stuff? And for a lot of people, some people are like, oh, it's in a filing cabinet, it's all together. Some people keep it in a plastic sleeve so that it's easy to grab, right? If there's a fire, they can grab it. If it's, if they're evacuating, they can grab it. They just keep it all together. It's organized. Some people have a lockbox or some kind of safe, or the gun safe, or another kind of safe, right, where they have this documentation all together. They can just grab it, but it's also in a safe place. I think that what's important in a fear of people is something happening and it's so chaotic that they forget those documents, right? And a couple ways you could do that was you get a little lockbox and you put your documents in a little plastic folder all together, and you keep it in that lockbox with some cash, with some credit cards. Keep it on that lockbox, and then put that little lockbox in the evacuation bag. Put it in the duffel bag, put it in the bag, and put it in the closet, put it away. One, it's another way to protect thieves or whoever from openly seeing a lockbox, right? So it's a way to kind of hide a lockbox in a closet, is putting it inside a bag, right? But then when you go to grab that bag, let's say for evacuation, the box is already in there. And so worst case, if you completely lose your mind, you completely panic and you just grab the bag, you've grabbed the important stuff as well. Obviously, if you have time, you're thinking about it, maybe you open the lockbox, take the stuff out, leave the lockbox, and go, okay? But the 2 things are those identifications, and you're gonna plan that however you know yourself better than anybody of how you need to do that to ensure that you remember that stuff. Now, if you know you are very OCD, very organized, without a doubt you're not gonna forget it, then put it wherever it is that you put it in your home, but make sure you grab it, because it's one of the most important things you need to grab when you leave your house. Because what happens if you leave for something, you come back, your house is leveled, that stuff flies away, can't be found, burns down, whatever the case may be, you want that stuff, okay? And the other thing is cash, money, or credit cards. Having cash is important. And then also having, get you a couple of those little Visa, those little vanilla Visa cards, right? Have some cards. So have some card ability, and then have some cash ability, okay? And then within that, you're planning it out and making your plan. And with that, I would have even maybe hotel information from depending on what your plan is, different areas that are close by, having those hotel and phone numbers quickly available with that stuff, so that you're not having to look through a phone book, you're not having to Google, none of that stuff. You can simply look at that piece of paper. You see that you've already staked out 3 hotels of different neighboring areas that you would go, and you can literally call them right away and not waste time trying to find that information, and call and book a room or whatever the case may be that you're planning to do, okay? So evac bags. And the next really important thing that I think to consider, and this is almost an extension of the house, and that's the car kit. This has 2 important areas in my opinion as well. I've gone back and forth whether to show you guys my car kit, but although I tell you a lot, I sometimes just don't feel comfortable sharing my actual stuff. But I try to convey as close as possible what things look like. Okay, so a car kit consists of 2 things or 2 elements. You're thinking about your safety items, right? Making sure you have the things that have to do with the car and staying safe. And if you break down, and jumper cables, fix a flat, things like that, the seatbelt cutter, the window breaker, things like that. Your car safety items, right? That you would need just for car safety, okay? Second aspect of that is survival, right? Having totes, bins, bags, big, huge black duffel bags, whatever it is that you want to do. But black is best, especially if you have tinted windows. You want to make stuff that is as low as possible in the back and as dark as possible so that people can see it less, right? And you can throw a blanket over stuff. You can do different things, right? But I like the idea of that, okay? And you're concealing this stuff. So basically in these totes, survival stuff. I'm just going to name some stuff, and you might think that's crazy to keep in the car all the time, but a little tent, some emergency blankets, some bivvies, some food and some water, a way to cook, right? What else? All survival things, a little fire starter kit, a little medical kit. I'm trying to just remember various things that are in there. So all these things, right? A canopy, different things that would come in handy for surviving if you had to just leave, get in your car. And this is more of the lines of bug out, right? This is more of the lines of, do you have in your car what you would need if you were having to, again, migrate, leave? And to me, this makes way more sense than a bag, right? Because, I mean, you want the bag, of course, but if you have, let's say this kit, you have bags, you go, you leave, and then you take that car for as far as you can, and then you're going to go on foot or whatever, right? Once you run out of gas, you can't go any further with what you brought or whatever. These survival items matter, camo for the car. If you're pulling off and having to camp at night, being able to conceal the car. So, some folks would be like, wow, you're taking it a little far with a car kit, but this isn't Mad Max. But again, you want to be prepared for all types of scenarios. You know how many people a year get stuck in snowstorms and literally die because the snow covers the car, they die, or they can't get out, or and they freeze to death, and so having some basic survival gear could be beneficial and actually save your life, right? Those folks, if they had emergency blankets and ways to keep warm and all of these things and ways to get out and start a fire or whatever, could make the difference of survival. So, you can make fun all you want about like, that's a little too far, but car kit to me has those two elements, okay? Imagine an evac, something as simple as a simple evac. You're going to a town over, you're going wherever. Well, you have those things that are in the car also to fall back on, right? A little bit of water, a little bit of food. So you have some stuff to fall back on that could be in the car, right? That could be beneficial and help you out, okay? So evac bag, car kit, and then probably the most important aspect that needs to be done to not cause panic when something happens. And that's, what is the plan, right? We talked about emergency plans the other day a little bit. And it becomes, what's the plan? Where are you going? How are you getting there? What happens when you run out of gas? Can you still get to where you need to go? And there's a plan A, B, and C, right? You have to have multiple game plans. One might be you just going out to your neighboring towns and getting a hotel. One might be going to family members. Maybe it's going to a cabin that you own, or a spot that you plan to go to, a friend's location, or maybe you have a hideaway somewhere. But what's the plans, and having multiple plans? Because a simple evacuation plan might turn into a much longer extent, right? You leave because of a hurricane, or you leave because of a tornado warning. You're planning to come back and you realize direct hit, you have absolutely nothing to come back to. You go back, you sift through, get what you can, but now it's time to do the insurance stuff. But now, you're not staying in that hotel, maybe. Like, that's not feasible. You don't have enough money for that. So what was the game plan if you actually had to leave, right? Nobody wants to think about that, because again, I'm like 99%. I'm saying here, like, there's not a lot that's forcing me from this home, right? But that doesn't mean that you don't plan for the day that you need to leave your home, period. I mean, you just are going to listen. You're going to listen, especially if, I hate saying, you're going to listen, especially if the government tells you, but if you're being told by the authorities, by your government, by your local authority that, like, look, something's coming down the pipe and it's going to be extremely dangerous, and there's a very high probability you guys are not going to make it out of it, and they say you need to evacuate or you're going to die, basically, you as a family are going to make that decision and you're going to follow through. And I would like to have some sort of stuff ready to go. And evac bags does that. Put your mind at ease a little bit. And that extended car kit really puts your mind at ease, right? Because you can go. You could just go and but have a plan, because that's what puts your, if you just get in the car and you're like, oh, they just said we have to leave or we're going to die. And then you're just driving east, let's say. I'm in Washington State and I'm just driving east, but I have no destination. I have no idea where I'm going. Yes, I have family members, I have places, but I've never planned it out. I've never had conversations with them about it. I've never, you know what I'm saying? That's extreme stress levels. And when you're in extreme stress levels, you make bad decisions, very, very poor decisions that could mean, life or death for you and your family. So not to bring it all gloom and doom, but I think this stuff is very important. I think that when I do videos like this of information, educational type videos, I hope that you're getting something out of it. I know it's not, over the top preparedness, and there's a lot of talk right now about the Patriot system and us sending it and what that's gonna start and stir up, and there's just a lot of dialogue going on right now and getting stirred back up, if you will. Things kind of died down a little bit as far as nuclear, but that conversation's coming up more now again, that, we're doing things and making moves that could, poke the bear. We're poking the bear. And, any bear, if you poke it enough, eventually gets sick of the poking. And is a bear at the end of the day. And so don't be surprised when that fool wants to start scratching us and swiping at us, right? Like for real swipes, bear swipes, kill shots. So it's a little alarming. I just try to pay attention to stuff. I don't watch a whole lot of stuff today. Like I told you, I'm trying to fall back a little bit from the just heaviness of stuff, and just concentrate on my family, concentrate on the stuff that I do enjoy, food preservation, that type of stuff. I know, I know it is pretty heavy times right now, but you guys are strong. You guys are amazing. We are who we are for a reason, right? We're survivors to the core, right? And I think that is what makes you special and unique, right? So continue to do the things. If you are new to prepping, continue to move forward methodically, slowly, even. Just think out what you're doing, prioritize, and just move forward. And don't get caught up in the craziness, the madness. Just keep pushing forward. And for folks that have been doing this for a while, you already know what it is, right? Just keep pushing, baby. Do the things that make you happy, and that that you still need to get done, right? Stop putting off some of those things that you need to get done. So I hope you guys are having an awesome Friday. We might get snow this weekend. I don't know. And I'll see you guys tomorrow in the next video. Take care. Bye.